This is Wade Kapszukiewicz, Mayor of the City of Toledo. The COVID-19 crisis that we are going through has affected all of us in many different ways, including some ways we couldn't have predicted. And the effect has been overwhelmingly negative. Let's make no mistake about it. Our lives and our health, in many cases, have been negatively affected. Businesses are facing a real crisis about whether they're going to be able to economically survive what's happening. And Toledo City Government is also an organization that has been and will continue to be negatively affected by this crisis. And today's Wireside Chat is my opportunity to explain to you what that means for you as a citizen of the city and what you might be able to expect going forward. Cities in Ohio are supported by a payroll income tax. In the city of Toledo, over 70% of our revenues come from a payroll income tax. And that's how it is for all the cities in the state of Ohio. Interestingly, that is a rare formula nationwide. Most cities in this country are supported by a property tax or a sales tax. It's really only a small handful, almost all of them in the state of Ohio, that rely on an income tax. What that means, unfortunately, in the time that we face, is that cities in Ohio are uniquely negatively affected by what's happening here. There was a national report about a week and a half ago that listed all of the cities in the entire country based on the negative impact COVID-19 will have on them. And of all cities, from sea to shining sea, the top 5 most negatively affected cities, 4 of them are in Ohio. Toledo came in 4th. I believe it went Columbus, Cincinnati, a city in Kentucky, Toledo, and Cleveland. That's not an accident. That's because cities in Ohio are funded with an income tax. And at a time when government officials are literally ordering people to stay at home and not go to work, that makes for a tough reality for cities. And so Toledo is facing some difficult financial times. It's now official that we are in a recession. A recession isn't an opinion. It's not someone's subjective estimate of the health of an economy. It's something that you can measure. And generally speaking, a recession is when you have 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. Well, the first quarter saw negative economic growth in this country, and unfortunately in the second quarter, there will be historic negative economic growth. So we're in a recession. We are. The longest period of uninterrupted job growth in our nation's history is over. And now our reality is a painful one. Now we face a recession. What this means to the city of Toledo, we know this year is at least a $10 million deficit, and that could grow into a larger deficit if, depending on how long this goes and the various impacts it could have. I have always believed that my experience dealing with public money, balancing public budgets, would be an asset to me as mayor. The 12 or so years I spent as county treasurer, I think, prepared me for this position, and I will say that in the little over 2 years I've been mayor, I've put those skills to work. When I became mayor, we inherited a deficit. 2 years later, we had produced a surplus. Unfortunately, fate has put us in a situation where we're right back into having a deficit. I know with some hard work, we will eventually get back to that surplus. I know we can do this. Did it before, and we're going to do it again, but it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice. I am fortunate as mayor to be working with the city council that is just as committed as I am to digging out of this unexpected financial hole and to doing it responsibly in a way that preserves services and the dignity of our employees. I especially want to point out the work of Councilman Chris Delaney and Katie Moline, who chair the budget task force that we work with. Obviously, Matt Cherry, as president of council, is an important partner. That's a good team, and they want us to get through this, and they're working with my administration to make sure that that happens. We'll get through it. Again, when I became mayor, we had a deficit. 2 years later, we turned it into a surplus. Now we're back at square one. We got to start again. There's several different things we can do to get out of this this fix that fate has put us in. But one of the things we know we have to do, and we have begun to do, is to drastically cut back on our expenses. There are other different revenue options that may become available over the next couple weeks, relief from the state and the federal government, some other things, other pots of money we can move around, and we're going to take advantage of all of those. But just like citizens of this community are having to tighten their belts, just like businesses are having to sacrifice and make some real tough decisions with employees, we're going to have to do that as well. And so one of the things we announced this week was that many of our employees are going to receive what's called a TEL, a temporary emergency leave notice. This is something that sadly the cities in Ohio, again, who are the most negatively affected of any city in the country by this crisis, have begun to do. Cincinnati had to offer TELs to 1,700 employees, Dayton and Akron, hundreds each. We didn't have to do as many here in Toledo, but there were emergency leave packages that we had to offer our employees as well. It's heartbreaking. These employees did nothing wrong, and we are in a position to dig out of an unexpected $10 million hole that we had to drill down into what's essential, what's not essential, what's crucial, what's less crucial, and make sure that we're doing right by the taxpayer. These employees are not being laid off. We have every hope and reason to believe that they will be brought back when the economic situation improves. We're going to reevaluate this every 30 days. These employees are still going to be able to get health care and some other benefits. But this is a move we didn't want to have to make. It's a move that breaks our heart. But it was a move that we had to make given the incredible financial realities that have befallen all of us. We went in the span of 6 weeks from having the highest income tax collections in the history of the city to, just like that, we're in a recession that fast. And we'll get through it. We're approaching this seriously and with great partners, but we have to take strong action, and that's what we've done. We look forward to the day when we're able to bring our TEL employees back. I want to say in conclusion to the citizens that while no service of city government will be eliminated because of what we've had to do with a portion of our workforce, I think it is fair to say that there will be that services will be probably slower than we'd like them to be. Things will be happening less frequently or less often. This isn't the most important example, but I'll just throw one example out there. This weekend, we were planning, when the world was different, to start mowing vacant lots and mowing parks and mowing green spaces throughout the city. We're not going to be able to start that this weekend. That's just the reality of a light switch that has flipped in a way that turned record income tax collections into a deficit in the blink of an eye. We'll mow those green spaces. We're going to provide those services. It's just going to be a little slower and a little less frequent and a little tougher than any one of us want. I'll take accountability for this. If you're upset that there's a green space in your neighborhood that's not getting mowed, blame me. If it makes you feel better, blame me. But this is a situation none of us wanted. None of us chose it. Fate chose it for us. And we will meet the challenge, and we're going to do this together. You will get through it. Your business will get through it. Your city government will get through it. But not without tough days and tough weeks like this one. And more than anything else, I wanted to update you in this forum to let you know why it is happening, what it means, and how we're going to get through this together. So let's pull through. Let's try to retain our sense of optimism. Toledo's been in tough spots before, and we've gotten through it. We'll get through this one too. Thank you.